So you're looking for dividend growth style ETFs that not only are going to pay you income and pay you more and more income over time, but also you want these dividend growth ETFs to grow your overall net worth substantially in a relatively short amount of time. Now, even though that sounds like a lot to ask for, in this video we're going to be going over 3 different dividend growth style ETFs that I think can do all that and then some. Which dividend growth ETFs are they? Stay tuned to find out. Real quick, for those that haven't already, make sure to go to the first link in my description and grab my new dividend investing ebook, where I share exactly how I went from $0 invested to now earning over $6,000 on a monthly basis and over $1 million invested in the markets. Along with the ebook, you're also going to receive my custom dividend tracker, where you can track your dividend progress on an ongoing basis and reach your dividend investing goals. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. The first dividend growth style ETF that's going to grow your portfolio substantially over time, or at least has historically, but on top of that is going to generate income for your portfolio on a monthly basis from day one, is ticker symbol DGRW, or the Wisdom Tree US Quality Dividend Growth Fund. Now, this is quickly becoming one of my favorite buy and hold forever positions. Yes, DGRW is going to be one of the staple foundational positions in my personal portfolio moving forward, and I'm not going to sell any shares. This is going to be one that's going to be there forever. And I'm going to share with you exactly why here in a second. But it says right here why DGRW gained access to the current landscape of US large cap dividend growers companies by applying both quality and growth screens. Now, DGRW, in my opinion, is basically an ETF, a dividend growth ETF that offers every single thing and more that any dividend growth investor would be looking for. Now, what I mean by this is that over time, this ETF has done what? It's basically traded up into the right substantially, up almost 200%, and this ETF has only been around 10 or so years. But also, this ETF has almost a perfect breakdown as far as sectors, technology being the forefront, then healthcare, industrials, etc., etc. And the top 10 holdings honestly could almost not get any better, with a massive concentration in both Microsoft and Apple, which make up as of currently over 10% of the entire ETF. All in all, around 300 different holdings, so you're well diversified, but once again, you're getting a lot of exposure to these top names, which are very high quality. Now, one of the cons for DGRW is the fact that it does have an expense ratio at 0.28%, which is going to cost a pretty penny, especially as you gain hopefully tens, 100s, thousands of shares of this ETF. But all in all, I think it's definitely worth it, the fact that this ETF has went up so much over time. Also, the fact that this ETF does in fact pay around a 1.7% trailing 12-month dividend yield to investors, and on top of that, dividends are paid monthly. So you're going to get more cash flow in your portfolio a lot quicker, which is definitely important to some of you investors out there. It's definitely important to me. All in all, for those investors that want their net worth to move up over time, DGRW could be an amazing vehicle to do so. At least it has historically. Basically, wherever an investor bought DGRW historically, it's went up in price from there. But on top of that, DGRW does, of course, pay that monthly dividend. So for those dividend growth, more income-focused investors that want to see growth but also want income and more income over time, DGRW is definitely an ETF to look into. Another dividend growth style ETF that I think is almost perfect for all those investors out there that once again are looking for growth, want to see their net worth, want to see their portfolio move up over time substantially, but on top of that, want dividend income and want it today. For this one, we're talking about iShares Core Dividend Growth ETF, or DGRO, very popular ETF for good reason. Now, DGRO offers low-cost exposure to U.S. stocks focused on dividend growth, which is important. If you love dividends, let me take a guess, you also love getting paid more and more in dividends over time. Now, there's definitely going to be some ETF overlap for all the ETFs we're talking about in this video, so keep that in mind. If you want different exposure to different things in the markets, it might not necessarily be a good idea to buy all 3 of these, but for me personally, if I'm overlapping with different stocks that all match what I'm looking for, I don't seem to mind it whatsoever. Now, DGRO's breakdown is as follows. It's majority financials, healthcare, then technology. So this ETF is going to be a tad bit more income focused versus growth focused, although DGRO is also up substantially, 128% plus, and this is over the last 10 or so years. DGRO also has a very cheap expense ratio at just 0.08%. And like I said, the holding breakdown is almost perfect for those investors that want income, but also don't want to miss out on growth. The top names for DGRO as of right now are some oil names like Exxon and Chevron. Then, of course, we have Microsoft, JP Morgan, Apple once again, we have Johnson & Johnson, abbvie, etc., etc. All in all, 400 plus holdings in DGRO, so you are going to be very diversified. And that's what I love about these high quality dividend growth ETFs, because at least for me personally, every single time I buy a share of, let's say, DGRO or DGRW for that matter, you're going to sleep well at night. You're not going to have to worry, oh my gosh, there's something within the holdings that's having a bad day, or maybe there's an issue, because of the fact that you're so diversified, probably even over diversified, and for the fact that the majority of the holdings in these ETFs are pretty bulletproof. Now, also with DGRO, you're getting almost a 2.4% trailing 12-month dividend yield. So for those investors that are still concerned about dividends, that want to see their dividend income move up over time, DGRO, even comparing to DGRW, is going to give you a nice bump in dividend income. Although again, for these types of investments, it's not necessary to really worry about dividend income from day one. But for some of you investors, including myself, dividend income is a very important metric throughout my entire investment strategy. Now, DGRO does pay a dividend quarterly, so it's not going to give you income as quickly as DGRW, although it's really all the same difference. On top of that, DGRO does have almost a 10% dividend growth rate, so for those investors that want to get paid more and more in dividends over time, this could be an amazing option. Now, the last and final dividend growth style ETF that's going to give investors not only exposure to growth, but also dividend income from day one is SCHD, or the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. Now, SCHD has a super cheap expense ratio, the cheapest out of all three of the ETFs we went through in this video. On top of that, SCHD is up over 206% over the max time frame. This is since around 2011. So just like the others, basically wherever an investor bought SCHD historically, let's say they bought it at 30, let's say they bought it at 40, 50, 60, etc., you're going to be up on your shares substantially along with those massive dividends you're paid along the way. Now, SCHD's holding breakdowns out of the other two are probably my least favorite, although there still are names in here that I'm a huge fan of. But as far as the sector breakdown, we got financials, healthcare, consumer defensives. The reason it's sort of my least favorite is the fact that technology is a small portion of the ETF. And although this ETF still has grown over time, I do think that ETFs like DGRW or others that do have more exposure to tech do have more potential to grow over time. But the main reason why I'm personally such a massive fan of SCHD is because as of right now, I'm desperately trying to get my dividend income up to a certain level to hopefully retire early sometime later on in the future. And at least as far as most dividend growth style ETFs out there that do have the potential to grow over time, you're not really going to see all that high of a yield. But in SCHD's case, you do see a 3.5% trailing 12-month dividend yield, which definitely can add up, especially if you do have hundreds and hundreds of shares. Now, on top of that, just like the others, this ETF has paid more and more over time as far as dividend income goes, which is also important, especially if I'm potentially going to retire off the dividends sometime in the future. I'm going to need to at least keep up with inflation, which SCHD on average has easily done and then some. So there we have it. Those are three different dividend growth style ETFs that all have the potential to grow your overall net worth in your portfolio a lot over time. But on top of that are all going to give you a decent amount of dividend income more or less from day one. Now, what's cool about investing in different dividend growth style ETFs, like the ones we talked about in this video, is that they all offer different things. They all have exposure to different areas in the market for the most part. And some might have a little bit more potential to grow over time. Some might grow a little bit slower, but pay a larger dividend. And it's really a perfect fit for every investor out there. If you're trying to solve for growth, or if you're really focused on getting your dividend income up to a certain level, or maybe a little bit of both, really try to figure out what your strategy is and then buy different stocks or ETFs that fit within your strategy moving forward. But lastly, now I want to hear from you guys down below. Out of DGRW, DGRO, and of course my personal favorite, SCHD, if you could only buy and hold on to one of those dividend growth style ETFs forever, which one would it be and why? Drop the ticker symbol in my comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.